Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Stamp Club meeting. For those of you who are not able to be here today, we definitely miss you and hope to see you next time. We're going to have a guest demonstrator with a wonderful project when we meet on the 24th. Today is, what day is it? Today is the 7th of September, which is crazy. I don't know how we got into September. But anyway, I will send out some more information about the one on the 24th. Today, I want to show you a couple of ideas. I've got one idea here, just two different color schemes, and then I've got another one tucked away on the other side of the desk. And these are made with a really amazing bundle. It's called Just a Note. It is an online exclusive, and it is one of those when you first see it, you think, that's kind of cute, but I don't know exactly what I would do with it. And then you see ideas on social media and you think, I have to have it. And the nice thing is, I believe the price for the bundle is $37.75, something like that. It's under $40. And if you get this, if you get the dies, do not, do not send me any kind of note saying that you have become obsessed, because this is my warning. You will become obsessed and you will think of all sorts of things that you can do. How do I know that? Because I've had that problem already. So I've done, like I said, a lot of prep. I've done a lot of cutting and stamping. So you're not going to be watching me do that. I'm just going to go through a couple of the steps to make this, and particularly to talk about some of the dies. And then one really cool and fun thing we're going to do is make a 3D clip. And there are a couple of clips that come in the die set. This is one that this is not a real clip. This is paper. This was made with the die
Really?
from the die set.
Wow.
It's so cool. So here's the real clip on my right hand. This is the one from the die set. And I'm not going to show this in right now, but I'll put a little video out. It's super easy. And when I show you the other card that um, I made this with the dies. It's just, again, your brain is going to go nuts with this stuff. So today I'm going to recreate sort of kind of one of these. I'm going to change it up a little bit. And we're just going to talk for a minute about the supplies. And while we do that, we'll go ahead and put it together. So in order to make this card, I want to get one out of the way. You're going to need a couple of pieces of paper. This is thick basic white, and I do suggest that you use thicker cardstock on a project like this if you're going to use designer series paper for your background. If you're going to use cardstock on the background, you should be fine with regular basic white, but it's nice and sturdy. It stands up with no problem. And it's a basic A2 card. So 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. Okay, so that's our card base. And then you do you. You choose whatever kind of, in this case, designer series paper that you want to use. And I just thought that looking at some of the patterns in the perennial lavender were going to be perfect. This one I ended up using on the front. I just love that whole kind of grungy on this gingham piece. And the colors on this are so subtle, and yet you can pull them out. The nice thing is this designer series paper has been around for a little bit, and it's still in the annual catalog. So it's still
Hmm.
available. And if you're like me and you have some in your stash, go grab it. And I think you're really going to enjoy using it. When you figure out what designer series paper you might want to use, the dimension for the designer series paper, and you're going to see there's just a little border around the dimension, and I've got two color schemes here, and I've got them here on purpose. Each of these is 4 1/8, and I'll put this in the YouTube video comments, so you can write it down or you can wait, but it's 4 1/8 wide by 5 3/8 high. So again, 4 1/8, 5 3/8, and just two kind of color schemes. And again, these are from the perennial lavender. Then shop your stash. Or if you want, what I always do is I go to the packaging for the designer series paper and I look at what colors are included because I do want to match them as best as I can. And if I have the colors, great. If I don't, I try to get as close as I can. So one of the colors in the perennial lavender is Blackberry Bliss, and I'll give you the dimensions on that in just a second. Another one is Pretty Peacock, and I love both of those colors, and I think they go together incredibly well. And you'll notice that those are the color schemes that I chose to use. So figure out what cardstock you would like. Either one works perfectly well. And what you're going to do is you're going to start with a piece that initially is 4¼ high, 3¼ wide. So 3¼ by 4¼ And you're going to notice that this is corner rounded. Right now, Stampin' Up! Does not have a corner rounder that is available from them. Fortunately, I have this one from a little while ago. I also have some other ones from different companies. So if you want to corner round the corners on your little piece here, you can go ahead and just use that corner rounder and do that on each of the 4 sides. And then you'll end up with something that looks like this, which is a little bit more realistic than a real kind of sharp edge. All right, so we have those two. And then here's where the fun, more of the fun, comes in. So to create the piece that goes onto the clipboard, we're going to use another piece, or I used another piece from the perennial lavender. And again, that was the designer series paper that looks like the gingham. And it has a little grunge in it too, which is kind of cool. It almost looks like there's ink splotches, which just makes the clipboard look a little bit more authentic. You're going to start with a piece that measures. Let me get my piece out here. This is going to be measuring at 3 inches by 4 inches. And the reason that I made it 3 inches by 4 inches is that this die, I'm going to take this die off. This die measures just under 3 by 4. Okay, so choose whatever kind of paper you would like. And I'm not going to die cut this yet because I want to stamp it first and then I'm going to die cut it. But I wanted to show you why I cut that to 3 by 4. Now, let's talk a little bit about some other products that Stampin' Up! Has that just happen to measure 3 by 4. They are the smaller cards in the Memories and More packages. So these little ones that I'm showing you here are ones that measure 3 by 4. What's super cool, these are new ones that are in the new mini catalog, is, for example, this one already has the lines on it. So you could just take that die and you could run it through and you would already have lines on your paper without having to use the stamp. And we'll look at the stamp in just a minute. But it's really convenient that there are some other products that are readily available that you can die cut. And I'll show you in a few minutes one card that I made with this Memory and More card. And I think it's super cute. In fact, if some of you get it for Christmas, just pretend that you're surprised and that you've not seen it and you think it is the most brilliant thing ever. But let's get back to this. So in addition to the dies, when you order the bundle, you also get this stamp set. And you can see in the stamp set, there is a large stamp that has the lines. That is what I used to stamp the lines onto a piece of paper. And I told you I did a lot of prep. So through the magic of television, there it is. And this was stamped with Memento black ink. And what's nice about it is it gives you that notebook looking paper.
Mhm.
You could always take notebook paper. You could go and rip out a piece of notebook paper and use that. You could draw lines if you wanted to. You could make something that did not have lines and just have a pattern that you would like to put onto your clipboard. So this is an option. But whatever you choose to do, the next step would be to go ahead and use the die and cut that out. Again, the magic of television. This is what you would end up with. So I know the magic of preparation. And it's super cute. It does look like you ripped it out because not everything is exactly the same on the edge, which is kind of nice. So there we have our little piece that looks like paper. And then it's up to you. You do whatever you would like to design your piece of paper that will go onto your clipboard. And what I chose to do is I used a couple of different stamps. I found this happy birthday in the all zipped up stamp set. I thought it was just really kind of fun and nice. And when I stamped it, you can see what I did is I stamped it a little bit on an angle. So if I make this piece of paper look straight, I stamped it so that it was on an angle, and that allowed me to turn the finished clipboard a little bit and still have the happy birthday look like it was reading in that direction. So I used that one. And then I grabbed one of my favorite stamp sets, Spotlight on Nature, and I used quite a few different stamps for this. I used the butterfly, I used the flowers, and let me show you as I continue to stamp what they ended up looking like. I've purposely done the example that I'm doing now in different colors because I wanted you to be able to see the difference. The colors that I used for stamping, I wanted to match what I had on the paper. So Pretty Peacock is in the background. Lost Lagoon is for the flowers. I've got sort of trailing off. Blackberry Bliss is for the butterfly. And then I wanted to add just a little bit more interest. And you can see that there are a few little grunge spots and also some kind of grid lines that are on here. And I'm going to go ahead and just do those pretty quick. And on this one, I'm choosing to do a different color combination. These stamps are from Spotlight on Nature. They're your little grid lines. Here are the little dots. And I'm just going to randomly add some interest to the background. And then we're going to start putting this together. I do have a piece of white paper that I'm going to use. I want to stamp off before I add some, and maybe just go ahead and put some on at a little bit bigger strength. You guys know me well and know that I absolutely adore grunge. It is something that makes me really happy. I just think it adds a lot. And in this instant, it really does add a lot to the designer series paper because it started off kind of grungy. The color that I used on that was Gorgeous Grape to pull out a couple more sort of purple colors. And then I'm going to finish off and add some Highland Heather. And then we'll start putting everything together. This is the kind of card that if I were making these, I would kind of do it in an assembly line. So I would go ahead and, cut out a lot of the dies, and I'll show you those in just a minute. And then I would have them all set to go. And when I started putting things together, it would just be a little bit easier. So you can see that that's been grunged up a little bit, and that's going to be what we'll end up putting on the front. So that was intentionally done quickly. I wanted to make sure that we really had more time focused on putting things together. So another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch up, and I'm going to use the same Pretty Peacock background, the Blackberry Bliss cardstock, but you can see I've changed the colors on the stamps that I'm going to put onto this card. All right, let's start putting a couple of things together. And at this point, that really means putting the designer series paper onto the cardstock. I can't yet put the clipboard on because there are a few more things I need to do before I actually have that done and I'm able to put that together. And I wanted to get a darker piece of paper so that you'd be able to see a little bit better what I'm doing. So all I'm going to do here, make sure I have my card opening the right way. And I'm just going to add that designer series paper right to the top of my cardstock. And then I'm going to build the clipboard and put that on top of the designer series paper. I also love this paper because it really has some cool highlights. Maggie, I think this one would be beautiful in the sunflower embossing folder as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Maggie was showing us some gorgeous cards that she made, and she used the new sunflower embossing folder, ran that through with designer series paper, and then took a white ink pad, and where everything is raised, she, you know, went over it, and that would be stunning with this. It would just be absolutely gorgeous. All right. Next thing we do is we do want to kind of get this together, meaning we want to put the piece that we had. I'm going to get back to the white because you're going to be able to see that better. I'm going to just attach these two pieces together, and then I'm going to really make the clipboard. But I can go ahead and put my little torn piece of paper die onto the cardstock. One of the things that is running around in my brain that I want to do with the dies is make an ornament that would be able to be hung, and it would be double-sided, because you know when you put an ornament on a tree or a mantle, it always gets turned around, and at least for us it does, and you're staring at the back of the ornament when you really, really, really want to look at the front. But
Some
I'm
of
going
us,
to make
I correct my husband every time he doesn't put the ornament on right. It's always swinging towards the backside.
exactly. So I'm going to try and cure that, and there will be a front and a back so that it doesn't matter.
Yay!
Yay!
Mike
All right. This is where the other dies come into play. And there are some really fun dies in here. So what we're going to be using today, and I've got a couple of them cut out. If you want to make the same kind of clipboard that I did, you're going to need two of these, and there's one die. It's right here. The fun of this is you don't need to make these silver. Make them whatever color you want, or cut them out of white paper and color them. Cut them out of designer series paper and just make them look cool. You know how there are the clips you can buy them in Target or Walmart or wherever that are not just plain, they've got a really, really cool pattern on them. You can mimic that. But I went ahead and I've got two of these little pieces here. And then if you do not think this is the cutest thing ever, you and I need to have a conversation. Look at this little paper clip. It's so stinking cute. And I made a card for a friend and actually gave it to her. And on those, I have these blue paper clips. Can't see it there. You can make whatever color paper clip you want. I mean, come on. It is just, it will keep you awake at night. And then you have, you know, those little fun things if you're supposed to sign here and they've got the flags on it. Well, you've got flags. Here are the flags. You've got the other clip that you can end up making a clip that looks like this. So that's where this little guy comes in. And then you also have the little piece, the metal piece. There are also some small little arrows, which again, you can say sign here, or you can point to happy birthday or whatever you want. It's really small, it's really cute. And then there are other shapes. And you also have this heart that is supposed to be a little clip. So it's just stinking adorable. It really, really is. And it is so, so much fun. But for this project, the two dies that I'm going to use, let me bring back in an example of where we're going. Two of the clips, so two of these, one of the paper clips, and then to make this look 3D, we're going to need another little piece of silver, and I'll show you that in a minute. But we're going to start with the paper clip. And what I'm going to do with that is I want the paper clip to look like it's just attached. And I'm going to bring my card back in because I want to make sure that I'm going to put that far enough in that I can turn my card and it's going to stay within the border of the card. And then through the magic of Scotch tape, I'm just going to tack that down on the back. I'm just going to put a little bit of Scotch tape on there. The nice thing is if you don't get it exactly where you want it, you can take it off and put Scotch tape on it where you do have it. But that's what I'm going to do with that. So that's just kind of popped on there, Scotch taped on the back. And eventually we are going to be putting that onto the card. But we need to make our little flip first. And here's what I want the clip to do. I want the clip to kind of hang out in the back, hang out in the front, and then I want it so that it has some height more toward the back, so more toward where the hole is. And the way that I figured out how to make that work, and again, I'm going to bring in some darker paper so you can actually see this a little bit better, is we're going to build just a little teeny piece of, I'm using silver because that's what I use to cut out these pieces. And I'm going to show you how to cut this piece. I'm going to show you what we're doing, and then I'm going to show you how to cut it. So we're making it look like this. It's going to be a little triangle. And what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up putting it so that the wider part is up at the top, and it's just going to make it stick up a little bit. So it's going to give you that 3D effect with the triangle piece up at the top. And when I post this, I'll take some pictures, but you can see how that looks like it's, you know, that you would press these down and open it up. That's the intention. So here's how we're going to do that. I cut a piece to 3/4 of an inch wide, and I just have a strip. And I decided that I was going to cut these each one at a time. It's just easier to do that. So whatever color you use to make your little clip, just cut a 3/4 inch strip. And I don't even know how long this is. It's about 5 inches. You definitely don't need that much. But I want to show you how to do this. So we're going to make 2 score lines, and then we're going to cut it off. And the way to do this is you're going to put your piece at a 1/4 inch. So right at a 1/4 inch, you're just going to slide that little piece over to a 1/4 inch and you're going to score it. So get your cutter out of the way and you're going to score it. So I just scored it at a 1/4. Now I'm going to move it over 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to get it over between 1/2 an inch and a 1/4. So I'm literally just going to scoot that piece over 1/8 of an inch and I'm going to score it again. So I have 2 score lines that are really, really, really close together. And then I need to move this a 1/4 of an inch and cut it off. So that means I'm going to go over to 5/8 of an inch. So I'm going to move it over to 1/2 an inch. That's an additional 1/8. Then I'm going to scooch it over 1 more 1/8. So I'm in between 1/2 and 3/4, right in the middle. And I'm going to cut this off. And that's the piece that I want. So we're going to do this again. I'm going to scoot it over to a 1/4 of an inch. Get the cutting blade out of the way. Score it. Move it over 1/8 of an inch. So it's going to go between a 1/4 and a 1/2, right in between a 1/4 and a 1/2. I'm going to score that. Then I need to move it over a 1/4 an inch because that's where I started at the beginning. So I'm going to go to 1/2 an inch, and then I'm going to scooch over to between 1/2 and 3/4. And now I can cut that off. So you can make a lot of these just by continuing to cut that strip down. Okay. All right. We're almost there. So once you have that piece, you're going to score it so that it looks like a U. And you've got the little tiny part between those 2 score lines is going to be on the bottom. Now, what I want to do is I want to attach this so that those 2 score lines that we talked about that are close together, they're going to be up at the top. They're going to be toward that hole. And I want to get them kind of as high toward that hole as I can. Here's the way I figured out is the best, or at least worked for me. Grab a couple of glue dots and put them on the piece that you just cut. So you can see I'm putting them on the piece that is the wider part. So I'm going to put one on one side and I'm going to put another on the other side. And then go ahead, obviously, and take off the back. And then put the clip that you're going to use so that this is the back and this is the one that we're going to be putting on the front. I did not use Stampin' Up! Paper because this is not silver on the back. I had some other. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this. Let me show you before you do this. I'm going to attach this so that it's sticking on like that. So see how that piece is sticking on and you've got that small, small fold. This is where it's still opening. And then we need to attach the other side. And you're going to kind of line it up, just figure out where it should go. But we're going to use glue dots to do that again. And the way I suggest doing that is to put the glue dots onto the little piece that you made. And you're going to do it just like you just did. So we're going to do one on one side. And do one on the other. Take those off. And then I'm going to look at this. And this, make sure you have both silver pieces looking toward you, and you're going to attach these together.
Too cute.
All right, so I'm just gonna go kind of hold the whole together and then press it down. And you can see that by putting that piece in the middle, it looks like a clip. It looks like you would push on the holes and actually make it open. And I intentionally made it really thin so that it should not get messed up when you mail it. It's about the same height as dimensionals. And hopefully it won't be a problem. So then it's actually kind of easy. You're just going to, it's like a clip. I mean, it works like a clip. You put it onto your clipboard and then you can attach it wherever you want to. I mean, come on, is that not the stinking cutest thing you've ever seen?
It is cute.
Yes.
It is so stinking cute. So this is where you decide how you want to do this. What I've done, and I've done it a couple different ways, I don't want to mess around with glue dots here because I will go a little bit bonkers. So I'm going to tape this because I'm going to end up putting glue, liquid glue on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of try to get it in the middle-ish. I mean, does it really matter? No, because everyone's going to look at it and say, that is the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I'm just going to tape it. So I'm going to tape that down. And then you've got choices. You can put a glue dot in here. I think that's a little nuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take liquid glue. And when you do it, just don't get it super, super close to the edge. Put it down in there a little bit. This is kind of hard to show on the camera. Let me do it and then I'll show you. I'm going to put it a little bit closer to the, not the middle, but I'm not putting it right on the edge because there's the edge and it's not right on the edge. And then when I press it down, it's going to squish a little, but it's also going to hold it. And it is going to take, you'll find that if you do this with foil, like I did, even though that foil is on the front, it's going to take just a second to set. So be patient. Be patient. All right. And if you want to put glue on your little clip, which I think is a good idea, let me show you a trick. You definitely don't want to get a lot of glue on here. So you pull the clip up, you're going to literally put a dot right there, right on the edge. And then before you put that back, get a piece of scrap paper and blot off a little bit of that glue because all you want is a little tack. You don't need a lot. And that will help ensure that the glue just holds it down, that it doesn't get all over everything. And then you're good to go. So now we've got our stinking cuter than ever anything anyone has ever seen in life clipboard.
That's quite the clipboard.
Sorry?
That's quite the clipboard.
I know.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to put some glue. And if you have taped down, like I did, the back of your clipboard, put a little extra love on it just to make sure that it's going to stay.
Okay.
And then you can make sure that it's going to get where you want it to go on your card. Because I also obviously want it to go so that I've got my corners. That looks pretty okay. Pat it down. Get rid of some of this extra stuff. And then I decided I wanted just a couple of little blingy things on my finished card. I need some more rhinestones, obviously. I have pretty much used them all up. And I just thought the rhinestones would work well with the silver paper. And I wanted to put one on, this one I'll do a little different. I'm going to really bring out the, in this case, the cardstock. And then I'll put another little guy right up here. And then to bring out the purples, these are the purple fine shimmer gems. And there are some that look pretty close to the Blackberry Bliss, the ones down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pull one of those out and just pop that right up at the top. And there you go. So the biggest thing with this card is to really just get comfortable with the dies. And then if you do want to do the clip, I'm just making sure that's sticking where I want it to go, that you've got your little clip up at the top that looks like it's 3D. And you can do different color combinations. You can do whatever you would like. I want to show you one more. I'm not going to make this. I just want to show you. This is a different example. This is using retired designer series paper. This is probably a good year-ish old. This is cherry cobbler cardstock. And you'll remember that one of the things I mentioned was that the Memories and More cards are 4x3. So for this one, I simply took the dies and I cut out this piece. Didn't even have to, well, I stamped on it, but I didn't do that until after. So I cut this out, and that's how I got that pattern. And then this year, my motto is I am going to use things even if they are retired because I like them.
Yay!
Yay! So this set is one that I absolutely love. And it was, I think, from last year. And
Yeah.
this cool wishing you a very Merry Christmas was perfect on here. And I did the exact same thing. I just kind of twisted the sentiment a little bit, and that was stamped with cherry cobbler. And then you know about the paper clip, and you know that I will be posting how to do this. It's very, very simple. Essentially, rather than using this die, you use this die, cut that out twice. You cut two of these out. There is very similar to what we did with the one that we just used. There is a little, maybe we'll call it a shim. It's different than this that you put in between. And that's pretty much it. And then you get this absolutely stinking adorable little clip that really, really, really looks like the real one. So these are
Amazing.
going to be some of my Christmas cards or our Christmas cards. And I've also started, and I'm telling you, you will become obsessed because I've gone through and I've looked at cards that I had from prior years. And my brain has gone on overload because, believe with a nice scene of maybe Mary Joseph and baby Jesus, even though that would be on a clipboard, which I still think would be cute. I think that would be adorable. So those are going to be some. Holly Jolly with Santa. And these already have the lines on them. Perfection. And then these you could just, cut out and do whatever you want. This is another one. These are retired. But I think these are going to make some just beautiful, beautiful cards. So I hope you have had some inspiration about this die set, especially. It is an online exclusive. It is called Just a Note. And it also has an accompanying stamp set that you can use. In my opinion, the dies are really what make the bundle. And they are on low inventory right now. So if it's something that you're interested in, my suggestion is don't wait too long. And I really, really do think you're going to like them. So there you go. And I really hope that this gives you some ideas and that you might give the bundle a try. I really do think that you will enjoy it. Thanks so much, and we will talk soon. Until then, happy stamping.